Good morning and welcome to Rochester. I'm Danny Wegman, and together with my friend Joel Seligman, we chair the Governor's Regional Economic Council for the Finger Lakes. And we're glad you're here today. We're particularly glad the Governor's here. Good morning, Governor. Appreciate you being here. Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, Assemblyman Joe Morelli, Senator Joe Roebuck, Howard Zamsky, Rich Toby, Erie County Department of County Executive, and Mark Murrow, and from the Brookings Institute. Now I've got some other acknowledgments. Congressman Louise Slaughter. Louise here? Good morning, Louise. Senator Rich Funke. Robert Oakes. Larry Bronson. Mark Johns. Yeah. Mark Johns. Peter Lawrence. Douglas Berwiger. Donald Earl. James Hoffman. Jack Marin. Former Lieutenant Governor of the State of New York and Rochester's favorite son, Bob Duffy. And all of the distinguished elected officials who have joined us today. Now we've got another group, which has been called Table 3. Table 3, would you like to introduce yourselves? This isn't hard. Joel?
All right. I'm Danny's friend, Joel Seligman, co-chairing the Regional Economic Development Council, and I just want to say we are thrilled the governor has come to Rochester to make this announcement. It'll be another great step forward for your economic aspirations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Maggie Brooks, Monroe County Executive. Welcome, Governor, and I'd also like to welcome all of my colleagues from upstate New York.
Lovely Warren, Mayor of the City of Rochester, and welcome to all of my colleagues, and welcome, Governor, and thank you for doing this in our city.
Harvey Stanger, President of Binghamton University and co-chair of the Regional Economic Development Council for the Southern Tier.
Tom Tranter, Harvey's co-chair. Welcome, Governor. Really appreciate you being here.
Pleasure.
Rich David, Mayor of the City of Binghamton. Welcome, Governor. Thank you for your recognition of everything that's happening in the Southern Tier currently.
Thank you.
Tony Collins, President of Clarkson, co-chair of the North Country, and Happy New Year to everybody. And 2015 is going to be a great year for all of us.
Gary Douglas, President of the North Country Chamber, and Tony's fellow co-chair of the North Country Regional Economic Development Council, and onward and upward, Governor, for another great year for the state of New York.
Robert Jones, President of the University of Albany and co-chair of the Capital Region Economic Development Council.
Dan McCoy, Albany County Executive. Governor, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Folks?
Rob Palmieri, Mayor of the City of Utica. Governor, once again, thank you for your partnership of the rebirth of Utica, upstate New York, and New York overall. Thank you.
Anthony Pacenti, Oneida County Executive. Governor, good to see you. Thank you for having this announcement upstate.
Larry Gilroy, co-chair, Mohawk Valley RADC. I don't know if it's significant. I'm to the left of a Democrat and a Republican elected in my area, but I'm to their left today. Welcome, Governor.
Bob Gear, SUNY Polytechnic and co-chair of the Mohawk Valley RADC. As always, Governor, thank you so much for your leadership.
I'm Joni Mahoney, the Onondaga County Executive. Welcome.
Nice.
Paul Deister, the Mayor of Niagara Falls, New York, and also serve on Western New York Regional Economic Development Council. The Governor, of course, made Howard Zamsky what he is today.
Mark Poloncarz, Erie County Executive. Always pleased to be with Governor, especially when it's not snowing. So.
Byron Brown, Mayor of the City of Buffalo. Good to see you, Governor.
Good morning, Satish Tripathi, President of SUNY Buffalo, and also co-chair of the Western New York Regional Economic Development Council with Howard Zamsky.
Thanks, everyone. I had the opportunity to hear Mario Cuomo speak many years ago. I can't remember exactly what he said. What I do remember is that he gave me a feeling that things could be better and that we could make them better. Frankly, he inspired me to get working. Wegmans is a family business. We know how a family influences each other. We're proud that Governor Cuomo continues the tradition that his father began. He knows that things can be better, and he challenges us to make them better. Now, many of us couldn't make the service for Mario, but we'd like to offer our public condolences to you, Governor, for your father.
Thank you.
The Finger Lakes region is an interesting community. We have some of the best higher education institutions in the world. We also have the worst high school graduation rate in the country in the city of Rochester. Now, some could say this is a terrible problem. We look at it and say, let's solve this. We have the perfect opportunity for growth. We have the talent to create new jobs. And if we fix our graduation rate, we'll have the people to fill them. Governor Cuomo has created a council that brings us together to think like this. Governor, we thank you for that. And we look forward to hearing your remarks today. The agenda today is for Howard Zamsky, the new head of the Empire State Building, Empire State, well, interesting, development. That's a tall order. Sorry, folks. Then we'll hear Mark Moreau, Fellow and Policy Director at the Brookings Institute, and then we'll hear the Governor. Governor, we look forward to hearing your vision so we can support it. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Great to be here. Danny, thank you for your hospitality and your kind words. I am in commercial real estate, so I can be head of the Empire State Building, if that's okay with everybody. That's familiar to me. You know, I want to say a few things about Danny and Wegmans for a minute, if you don't mind. I spent 20 years in the food business. You may or may not know that. And Wegmans was a good customer. In fact, we did business all around the country, all 50 states. And I want to tell you, Wegmans wasn't considered among the elite supermarket operators. It wasn't considered to be like just top 10%. It was the premier, highest ranked, most respected supermarket retailer. You may or may not know that. As a shopper, I know you love them, but around this country, they're the most respected supermarket retailer there is, and I think it's an amazing accomplishment. That's a big industry. I want to take a minute and thank Kenneth Adams. He's been a great partner and colleague for us in Western New York for the past many years and has played an incredible role in really transforming the way economic development happens across the state and in Western New York. So for me, I've never met anybody who didn't really respect Ken, who doesn't respect Ken, and who doesn't like him. He's a great guy and a great leader, and those are really big shoes to fill, and I hope I can do the job as well as Ken. Even half as well as Ken would be an accomplishment. So I have a ton of respect for him. Continue to work with him as we work on this transition. He's been a true professional and a true colleague, and I think we'll be great partners going forward. So I want to recognize Ken. I want to thank the governor for this opportunity. It's a unique opportunity for me, and it wasn't necessarily on my radar screen. But when you see a governor who's as focused on economic development and transforming economic development, and who threw Western New York a lifeline, this very moribund region, he really took on the most improbable, intractable economy and the most improbable challenge that you could imagine. So I have a ton of respect for that. And so I, of course, want to continue my service to Western New York and to all the regions of the state. It's a tremendous honor, and I view it is nothing less than a tremendous honor. You should also know that we had some snow in Buffalo, you may have heard. It's about 7 feet. And it was just coincidental that I was on vacation, actually out of the country, and I was in Holland, and I was hoping the governor wouldn't notice I wasn't anywhere in Western New York. And I get this text message. It's amazing how texts work across the Atlantic. It says, Zamsky, I've been in Buffalo now for several days. I haven't seen you. Get a shovel and meet me. As a governor, I'm embarrassed to tell you that I'm on vacation in Holland. I'm sipping a glass of Sauvignon Blanc in Amsterdam. Reply, I'll get even. So it's nice to be with you. You know, it's been interesting. There's been, you know, I'm not used to a lot of press, and certainly not used to statewide press. I grew up on Long Island, and recently there was a story in Newsday. It was, you know, kind of a hometown paper, and I suppose, you know, when your name shows up in your old hometown paper, perhaps you shouldn't be surprised if, you know, your name jogs the memory of people who long forgot about you. And so it is the case that the other day my assistant comes into my office and says, Howard, your 6th grade teacher's on the phone. Actually, she says, all of your elementary school teachers are on the phone. Of course, I go to the phone reluctantly. Hello? I hear Mr. Burgess's voice. Is this Howie? Reminding myself that he was 65 in 1965. I say, well, yes, it is, although no one has actually called me that for 43 years. Undeterred, he continues. I see the governor has nominated you for a significant position, he says. Yes, about that, I jump right in. I'm really sorry about how disruptive I was in class as a youth, but I have changed. Well, he says, we've been reviewing your transcripts. Dun, dun, dun. You're deficient in cursive. Geez, I say, we use email now. I don't think I'm gonna need cursive. Cricket, cricket, no response. Please tell the governor you should never be left alone with a Bunsen burner. Okay, Mr. Burgess, we don't have Bunsen burners at ESD, but out of respect for you and the education you gave me, I will tell him. Finally, he says, tell the governor to never let you address a group of adults. Well, that's going to be awkward at this point, but I'll tell him. What did we come here to do again? The governor has a ambitious agenda, as he has for Western New York. He has, of course, across the state and across upstate, and is determined to build a new economy for upstate New York. Thankfully, since truthfully, it's been a very long time, a very, very long time, as all of you know, since we've had a governor who has really even paid attention to upstate. So it's an exciting opportunity. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we did in Buffalo and what some of our experiences are, and I'm going to try and set it up for a moment. In the 90s, more jobs were lost in Buffalo than in any other urban community of comparable size. There are a lot of statistics I can tell you about the decline and despair of Buffalo, but nothing more important than the fact that parents were telling their children to get out of town. That's the most significant fact. The kids you love, there's no future here for you, go away. That was a very sad reality in Western New York for a long time. Remarkably, while we were losing all these jobs and our population, and literally 1/3 of our young people, 1/3 of our young people in a couple of decades, we spread ourselves, by the way, over 3 times the land mass, and we abandoned the urban core. So let's see, we're hemorrhaging jobs, we're losing population, we abandoned the city, we spread ourselves over 3 times the land mass, we duplicate infrastructure costs, we duplicate services, we raise costs for everyone living there and any business that might ever consider being there. That's the situation that we were in. And throughout that process, what role did Albany play? Well, I've lived in Western New York for 33 years, and until recently, truthfully, Albany played no constructive role. A one-size-fits-all approach to economic development, no strategic vision. Basically, it was, does anybody know anybody who knows somebody who knows the governor that we can get his ear, right? It was one crazy silver bullet project or proposal after another, no strategy behind it, no coherent single voice in the community. All that has changed, of course. First, REDC changed all that, this decentralized, collaborative, strategic approach to economic development. We viewed it as a lifeline in our region. This opportunity to get off of the sidelines and into the game, take control of our own destiny and economic development, help direct, literally, state resources and projects that advanced our plan. That was an amazing opportunity. No one had ever, and no one could have imagined an opportunity like that. It was a lease on life in a town that had given up hope, and it wasn't just the money. It was a responsibility and an opportunity to do what we sometimes refer to as a deeper dive, which we'll ask all of you to do. Do a deeper dive into your economies, your strengths and your weaknesses to develop a go-forward plan. We contacted and met with literally over 400 organizations and close to 10,000 people. It has been the most comprehensive, participatory, collaborative process I think that Western New York has seen in a very, very long time. Our friend Bruce Katz from Brookings, many of you know, was always extremely encouraging. He taught us a lot about metropolitan economic development, and he affirmed the fact that we had tremendous, unique assets. We use the Buffalo Billion not to nibble at the margins, not to change things in an evolutionary way. We use it in a way to be transformative, that makes our economy innovative again. We believe in tradable sectors. We believe in export. We believe in production. We don't believe in some of the silver bullet projects we spent years and years fighting over, like a retail store on the waterfront or an office building. I mean, we have a strategy now and a philosophy, a guiding star in terms of how we do economic development and consider economic development projects. You all have this core strategy in place. You just need, I think, to do a deeper dive. REDC gave you an opportunity to develop your own strategy for your region, and it is working across upstate. In Western New York, we build on our strengths: health and life sciences, tourism, and advanced manufacturing. We have invested over the years over $1 billion on the medical campus, with 12,000 people already working there in clinical and educational, in research. It's a core industry for us. We have great assets through UB School of Center of Computational Research, Center of Excellence in Bioinformatics. Tourism. If you have Niagara Falls and 10 million people, you have architecture from Frank Lloyd Wright, Sullivan, Saarinen, Richardson, the great masters of the contemporary and modern art world. Those are great tourist assets. How can you not try and build on that? Advanced manufacturing for Western New York, think about Western New York. Binational, multimodal, we have clean energy, we have affordable energy, we have logistical advantages, we have 105,000 college students. Whatever you're looking for, whether it's a vocational degree from a community college or a PhD, we have the supply of labor. So it worked for us. And then we had to really address some of our weaknesses, which is kind of the point. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? So we have significant initiatives in all of these. We did transformative projects like Riverbend, Solar City. We're talking about the largest solar plant in the Western Hemisphere, over 1 million square feet. This is putting Western New York in the center. We already are in clean energy through our hydropower and NYPA. This is really strengthening an asset of clean energy, taking advantage of our strengths in advanced manufacturing, and transforming the image of Western New York and putting us squarely in the middle of a very growing sector of the world's economy. Health and life sciences, again, we have UB Center of Computational Research, Center of Excellence in Bioinformatics. Big data is big jobs for Western New York, and we're partnering with the Human Genome Center in New York City to do just that. In tourism, 10 million people. What we know is just from the research that we have done, if we can extend stays in Western New York modestly, we can add 10,000 jobs, modestly. So what are we doing? We're upgrading park infrastructure, upgrading park programming, connecting Niagara Falls back to the waterfront, upgrading the hotels, upgrading downtown. We have low-hanging fruit in the economy around tourism, and we're taking advantage of it. I talked about Riverbend. This is 3,000 jobs, $5 billion. Buffalo is on the tongues of everyone, businesses around the world in the clean energy sector, which is growing rapidly. In workforce development, this was an area of concern for us. We weren't training enough people in skills that industry needed. Our workforce is older. Many upstate economies' workforces are older. We need to train people in skills that the marketplace is looking for. We have too many people who are looking for jobs and too many jobs that are looking for people, and it's not matching up. So right skilling is an important strategy of ours, and we have several initiatives around that. Entrepreneurship. Buffalo punched below its weight, as Brookings would say, in entrepreneurship. Based on the number of research dollars we have coming into the community, we just should have been creating more private sector jobs, but we weren't. We've launched the largest business plan competition in the country. It's the same concept as when the governor said $1 billion for Buffalo. You have to pay attention to that. You have to pay attention to we had 6,000 applicants from around the world and 11 winners. So we're looking forward to kicking off that competition again, changing the image of Buffalo. It's not the Rust Belt city anymore. We're not has-been. We're hip. We're entrepreneurial. We're looking forward. We're not spending all of our time talking about the past. We're spending a lot more of our time thinking about the future. We're interested in vitality and downtown revitalization and what we call smart growth. We lost a third of our people. That's a lot of people. Guess what? Young people generally don't do when they get out of college. They don't say, where can I go that has the greatest sprawl? Right? They're like, where is it cool? Where is it downtown vitality? Where is there other young people? Where is there jobs? Where is it moving forward? Where is there a great waterfront? We're developing that. It's happening in Buffalo. It has worked. We are leveraging this tremendous investment that the state is making against a tremendous commitment of private sector capital. There was recently a headline in Buffalo from a prominent publication that said, Western New York, $16.4 billion of investment underway. Do you have any idea how unimaginable, improbable a headline like that would have been just a few years ago. It's extraordinary. We've added over 3,700 jobs, and we do estimate over 14,000 new jobs once the initiatives we've announced are fully implemented. It's a big deal for Western New York. And it's time to take this success story, this holistic, sensible, determined, collaborative, strategic approach to economic development across the state. The governor is focused on upstate. We have lagged the rest of the state. We've lagged the country, and we're doing something about it. So what is the Upstate Revitalization Competition? It's a $1.5 billion commitment to revitalize other upstate areas in need of similar investment to jumpstart economic activity. $1.5 billion. It will be awarded in grants amounting up to $500 million to each of up to 3 winning regions. Up to $500 million, 3 regions, up to 3 regions. There are 7 regions eligible to compete. Our timeline is between now and April. We'll be engaging with the regions. April 15th, there's a launch for the competition. July 1st, the plans are due. In the fall of 2015, announcement of winners. And the CFA process, yes, in anticipation of a question, will run concurrently as the regions are accustomed to. There will be a 5-member strategic plan review committee that will make their recommendations for winners. They include Bruce Katz, Mark Morial, Cesar Perales, Roanne DeStito, Suzanne Christopherson as well. People with expertise across a wide array of disciplines to achieve our goals. And I'm very pleased to say that the governor has appointed Rich Tobey as Director of Upstate Revitalization. If you don't know Rich, you will get to know him. He's most recently been a Deputy County Executive working with Mark Polenkars. And he's a gentleman and a scholar and a great community leader. And so I'm really looking forward to working with Rich as well. It is now my pleasure to introduce Mark Muro, Senior Fellow, Brookings Institution, and Director of Policy for the Brookings Metropolitan Policy Program. Thank you.
Howard, thanks. That was powerful. I'm sold, for certain. I think this region will be sold as well. I'm Mark Muro, Senior Fellow, Policy Director at the Brookings Metropolitan Policy Program. Incredible pleasure to be here today. Of course, I'm biased. Working with Bruce Katz, hearing Andrew's name in our building every day. I've been excited to help develop some of the concepts that you're hearing about today and to develop this concept of bottom-up development approach, but also to watch, a region and a state execute in a very profound way. So for a policy jock focused on unleashing the potential of cities and metropolitan regions, it doesn't get any better than this. See the launch by a great state and a great governor of a truly innovative bottom-up development program at sufficient scale to move the dial to be potentially transformative. I'm going to say a little about that later. Scale is important. So the moment is auspicious here. New York has made outstanding progress through Governor Cuomo's first term. It owes really to 2 factors. First thing that happened was that the governor threw aside business as usual, infused a whole new attitude into economic development. He didn't twiddle on the edges, tried to change the entire approach. Thanks to governor's leadership and by dint of the regional council process, epitomized by the Buffalo Billion, the old ways really don't exist in New York now. Collaboration through a rigorous, community-driven process has opened things up, brought transparency, brought excitement and engagement And it's bringing jobs and investment to regions. All of that would be nice, but not sufficient if we weren't seeing the dial move. But that's not the only thing, that's not the only thing that's mattered. The second success factor here is the level of investment that is made. There is no other state in the country that's deploying resources, or maybe I should say redeploying resources on the scale that we are seeing in New York now. New York is not settled for playing small ball. I think lots of states are looking at ideas like this, mistaking hand-holding and kumbaya for economic development, but it's really marginal. This is not marginal. The governor has made progressive, unprecedented investments in upstate New York, and they're paying off. So this is something new under the sun. Buffalo's been brought to life, I think, as Howard has attested. The same can be true for other major metropolitan areas above New York City. In this respect, though, the billion has represented a breakthrough shift, I think, in economic development practice, away from the kind of short-term, disconnected expenditures, pet projects, who do you know operations, towards a truly strategic drive to strengthen the entire region's economy by building on potential and emerging strengths, looking at what the region is and trying to become more what it could be. And yet here's the thing. The success of Buffalo was not a one-off. The success of Buffalo resulted instead from, I think, a well-thought-out, rigorous methodology that can now be replicated through the upstate area. And Howard's presentation, I think, shows some of the criteria that made this model work in Western New York, some of the spirit of that. But it's more than, this is a method and a model that can now be scaled. And to an extent, you're not starting at zero now. Now, Governor Cuomo is wanting to bring this model and methodology to upstate, and so you here in Rochester and other upstate regions would be wise to, I think, pay attention to some of the keys to Buffalo's success. Again, it's not rocket science. We now have a model that you can build on. Along those lines, I'm going to touch on just three, I think, keys to success. First, engage the community. This is an occasion to transform the relationships of the community to itself and to its institutions. The billion worked because people believe in Buffalo now. Through engaging the public, partnering with local leaders, businesses, and communities, people started to believe that the comeback was real. They began to trust the process. The RADCs provide a strong and effective launch pad, I think, for this new wave of community development and regional planning. And it's led to, I think, better ideas, better strategies, better outcomes, better execution. So I think think about how you're engaging all stakeholders and constituencies in the region as you compete for the upstate $1.5 billion. Second, leverage unique strengths. Don't try to make something up. Don't try to be something you're not. Instead, identify your strengths and assets, your emerging clusters, your strong university programs, your top tourist attractions. What are the clusters of companies that are beginning to show real energy and critical mass? And use those as a foundation. Don't try to onload some template from Economic Development Quarterly or what the next state or city down the region is doing. Be yourself. As Dolly Parton says, be your region more on purpose, and I think that is the difference between great economic development, and I think the structure that the governor has brought to you as a state really requires every region to become more itself, to do itself more on purpose. So finally, identify game-changing investments. Don't try to improve a little on business as usual. Don't accept marginal solutions. Try to be transformative. Success isn't going to come from tweaking the margins, fiddling with the dials on business as usual. It's going to involve building up critical infrastructure, retooling the workforce, crafting new platforms in which you can build new industries. So think, what are the ideal interventions? There will be resources to engage at that deep level now. So that you have to get in the habit now of thinking about the most fundamental interventions that can make a difference. And here's a little more advice before I wrap up. Identify exactly what's worked for the region through the REDC process. The process is in place, and now think, how can those successes tie into new core strategies or be added up to be more than the sum total? You know, how does 2 + 2 become 5? The best plans are going to engage stakeholders, as I've said, in inclusive, transformative, and bottom-up effort, develop long-term economic strategies that are evidence-driven and build on distinctive competitive assets, understand your economy, build on research that's been done, and try to scale that up. Use the urban center as a hub of activity, but prioritize projects that benefit the whole region. Again, use what you have and make it better. And then leverage your institutions of higher education. That's crucial. Tech transfer matters, improving commercialization. Think about co-locating companies, building clusters, all of that. You have some very intriguing presence, say, here in Rochester in new industries. How do you get that to scale? So in that sense, I think you're fortunate. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. New York State and Buffalo have helped the state crack the code. Now you only need to use it. Use that code, bring it to a distinctive problem solving in your region. The Buffalo Billion provides a very scalable, replicable model and principles, I think, that can help Upstate retool its economy. Now embrace that and compete to become a truly 21st century region. And so with that, I have the very distinct privilege of introducing one of the governors of this country who's truly, making a difference, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you very much, Mark. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. First to Danny Wegman, thank you for your hospitality and for having us here, and thank you for the great job you do, not just as a corporate citizen, but as a citizen of the great state of New York, and we thank you for your generosity. Let's give Danny Wegman a big round of applause. To our new Lieutenant Governor, Kathy Hochul, pleasure. Let's give her a round of applause. To our past Lieutenant Governor, Bob Duffy, I'll tell you the truth, Bob, it would be a little nicer if you looked a little sad. If you were like, I miss you, I miss being there. You look a little too happy and a little too healthy, I'll tell you the truth. Bob Duffy, give him a round of applause. We do miss you, Bob. To the elected officials who are here, the Assemblyman, the Senator, our colleagues in Albany, I thank you very much. I want to take this opportunity to thank Ken Adams for a really well-done job at ESDC over the past 4 years. He took a sleepy, dysfunctional agency and he brought it back to life, and he's done a great job. So let's give him a round of applause. To Mr. Howard Zamsky, who is going to now be running ESD, as they call it. I call it ESDC. Howard, as you know, was one of the driving forces in what is a national success story, what has happened in Buffalo. Truly a national success story. And he didn't do it alone. He did it with Satish Tripathi, who was the co-chair. He did it with a great mayor, Byron Brown, and a great county executive. Mark Polenkars and a whole team. But he really did do phenomenal work. And I got to know him over the past 4 years. And then we were in Buffalo for the 7 feet of snow, and Howard was not, which I thought was really disrespectful on a number of levels to his citizenship as a person of Buffalo. I mean, you have 7 feet of snow, you go home and you help your neighbors and you care and you're drinking wine, half drunk in Holland. And so I did call him on it, and I took the opportunity to raise the possibility of his taking over ESDC while he was sipping his Sauvignon Blanc in Holland. And he was negative on the idea, actually, when I first raised it. And he said, well, you know, Governor, I got a lot going on in my private business, and I've been taking a lot of time on the Buffalo task force. I don't really have the time, and my wife has been saying we should move to a different phase and wants to travel and spend more time at home, so I'm not inclined to do it. I said, okay, that's an inclination. I get inclinations all day long. He said, well, is there an alternative? I said, yes, there's always an alternative. You can stay in Holland. That's your alternative. But if you're coming back to New York, you're coming back as the new head of the ESDC. And he agreed. So let's give him a round of applause. And thank him for his generosity and willingness. I was touched. Rich Toby, who has done a phenomenal job in a number of positions, and Mark Polenkars, who's a great friend to this administration, has allowed us to bring Rich Toby to Albany to be in charge of Upstate Revitalization and Development. He's going to do a great job. Let's give him a round of applause. And to the team at Brookings, who they are the national experts in this area. They are, in many ways, the international experts in this area. We thank Mark Morrow very much for his participation. I enjoyed his presentation. I'm not quite sure how Dolly Parton fits into regional planning, but he did get my attention with that comment, I want you to know. And I was paying attention, and I'm going to do some further research on that myself. But let's thank Bruce Katz and Amy Lou and Mark Morrow for being here. And just, we do have some new friends who are with us, and we have new elected officials who are with us embarking on this new year and this new venture. So a quick recap of what we've done over the past 4 years and the progress we've made and what I believe has been driving the progress and what we're looking for in this next competition. You know, we're all spent a lot of time talking about the great history of upstate New York, and it does have a really phenomenal economic history. You know, upstate New York was the economic engine for this country for many, many years. We forget that. And the economy came to upstate New York. We visioned it with the Erie Canal and the Hudson River, et cetera, but the economy came to us. And it came to upstate New York fast and strong. Rochester, largest flour manufacturer in the nation. In one 10-year period, the population of Rochester doubled. And we had all the big industrial corporate giants were here. The innovation was here. IBM was here. Carrier was here. Nabisco was here. Kodak was here. The economy was in upstate New York. Okay. And we assumed it was coming, and we assumed it was staying. Economy changes, transforms, moves overseas, moves to different parts of the country with a better tax structure, and the tide goes out, and upstate New York is now on the rocks. And it then gets into a downward spiral and what I call a negative synergy, which is what Howard was talking about. The economy starts to slow in upstate New York. What happens? People start to leave. Young people start to leave. Population comes down. The political power of the region is then reduced. At the same time, you had a state government that was in Albany that was frankly absent when it came to the needs of upstate New York. It was not as attentive to upstate New York as it should have been, to our new friends in the Assembly and the Senate who it's their first time in Albany, you're going to find out how downstate-centric that state government is. In many ways, that is the power base for the legislature. And to get attention for upstate New York is very, very hard. So Albany was in many ways blind to upstate New York. Second, Albany wasn't that functional in the first place. They weren't getting that much done. So it compounded the problem of upstate New York, and you saw that spiral continue. And it continued for decades and got, frankly, to a frightening point of decline. Bob Duffy was mayor of Rochester. I had met him during my time as Attorney General 4 years ago. I asked him to run for mayor, and he said, for lieutenant governor. He said, no, I'd rather stay as mayor. You know, I'm about Rochester. I love the whole state, but I'm a Rochester boy. And I said, Bob, you can't help Rochester from Rochester. The problems are too severe. You can't do it from Rochester. You want to help Rochester, you have to change the state government. And you have to change the orientation of the state government. And you have to get real resources to upstate New York. And you have to change the political paradigm that only looks south and say from Albany, we have to look west. And it's not enough that you have an economic engine in New York City. You need an economic engine in upstate New York, and you're going to have to invest and help upstate New York make that transition. That's why Bob Duffy goes to Albany. Not because he wanted to, but because he loved Rochester, he had to go to Albany. And that is exactly what we did over the past 4 years. Now, we said we were going to do it right. Why? Because this was not the first venture of urban development and urban renewal. I spent 8 years at the Department of Housing and Urban Development with Bruce Katz, with the what is now the brain trust at Brookings, cleaning up all the failed efforts of the past 20 years. I spent 8 years cleaning up the failed housing projects, the failed economic development projects, the failed UDAG projects, all across this country. Learned a lot from the failures, and we said we were going to do it right. And that is the approach we then brought to New York State that is bearing fruit. Now, we started in Buffalo. Why did we start in Buffalo? Because Buffalo had the worst problems, period. Period. On the numbers, in reality, in a practical sense, in a psychological sense, Buffalo had the worst problems. And we pledged $1 billion to Buffalo. Was it easy to do? No. First of all, $1 billion is a lot of money. Hurts to spend $1 billion. You don't get many of those. Second, politically, it was difficult. Why? Because we all love each other, but when one region gets $1 billion, the other regions notice. And the other regions say, well, what about me? I love my fellow citizens in Buffalo, but what about me? So politically it was difficult. And I don't want to name names, but Lovely Warren didn't like it, and Joni Mahoney didn't like it, and Jennings didn't like it, and Bill de Blasio didn't like it, and Ed Mangano didn't like it, and Steve Ballone didn't like it. But I said we're going to start with Buffalo, and we're going to do it right, and we're going to put our money where our mouth is, because as Mr. Morrow said, unless you have enough money to do it right, don't bother wasting your money. If you don't have enough money to do it right and bring it to scale, don't bother trying. So that was the $1 billion. I also believed that we needed to establish credibility. Why? Because this has been tried many, many times before. And to say to a region, we're going to help you revitalize, that is not a new and novel concept. And the skepticism and the cynicism and the dubious nature is running high. So let's prove the approach in the toughest testing ground, which was Western New York. I also believed that we had the talent in Western New York to do it. And that's Byron Brown and Mark Polinkars and Satish and Howard. But that's why Buffalo first. And the principles that we brought to bear have been borne out. First, the whole approach is not the upstate plan, right? The whole approach for the state, first of all, corrects what I believe is the number one problem, which is taxes are too high in the state of New York. Period. You have no economic future as the tax capital of the nation because businesses and people are smart and they will move, and they have been moving. They're mobile and they'll go. So we had to get taxes down. We have gotten taxes down, personal income taxes down, corporate taxes down. We just proposed another property tax credit because the property tax is the highest tax in the state of New York. Frankly, it has nothing to do with the state taxation itself, but the property tax has to come down. We have a credit plan for that. I'm going to go to the legislature the day of the state and ask for more business cuts to get the taxes down. But we did that, and that was the first step. The second step was then the affirmative growth plans for upstate New York. Why? Because the governments in upstate New York have to be economically viable. And frankly, many of them are not now. You look at the budgets for many cities in upstate New York, and you see the state is giving them 10, 15, 20, 25% of their budget. And the mayor stands up and says, my budget's balanced. No, that's not really balanced when you have a 25% subsidy. So we have to get those governments viable. And we came with a very distinctive philosophy that worked in Buffalo that we're going to be looking for in this competition. And that's what Howard went through, and that's what Mark went through. First, we don't believe in the if you build it, they will come theory of economic development. I mentioned my experience at HUD. I'm tired of seeing empty shopping malls and empty parking garages and empty downtown revitalization plans because the theory was, we'll build it and then the businesses will come. No. Identify the business first and build it for the business. What manufacturer, what job, what industry, and then build it actually for that. One of the principles that worked phenomenally well in Buffalo, this is a government project, but it's all about private sector jobs, period. This is about bringing jobs to that region, period. Not attempts, not infrastructure that might one day help. This is about creating jobs, which create opportunity, which create wealth. And that only the private sector does. It has to be regional in nature. It has to get past the political barriers, city, county, town, village. It's all one region. I don't care if you're a Democrat, I don't care if you're a Republican, I don't care if you're tall, if you're short. We have to be working together, and you have to be working together as one region. And it has to be linked to an academic university that is creating the high-end intellectual product that is driving the new industries. Those are the principles that work. And then, as Howard said, you do an honest assessment of your strengths and your weaknesses, and you come up with a strategic business plan where you say we're going to transform our city, our region into X. And X can be whatever you want. But building on the strengths, correcting for the weaknesses, have a strategic plan that everyone is then part of. And everyone buys in, not just around the table, but everyone buys in within the community. part of this is changing the energy of the community. And I know that sounds a little touchy-feely energy. What's he talking about? It's true. You can go across this country, you land in an airport, you take the cab into the town. By the time you get there, you have a feel for the place. You have a feel for the energy. Best economic development speech I ever heard was about how the waitress and the cab driver are your economic development officers. Why? Because the businessman lands and he goes to the restaurant and he says to the waitress, "What's going on?" And she says, "This town is terrible. This. I can't wait to get out of here." Or the waitress says, "It's going great. I love it. This is happening. This is happening." Talks to the cab driver. There's a feel. There's an energy. When you went into Buffalo 5 years ago, you felt a great sucking of energy. You felt the decline, which was the reality. People were leaving, and you felt it. You walk down the block, you look at people's faces, you look at the storefronts, closed, vacant, going out of business, and you feel it pulling you down. You go to Buffalo now, it's a totally different feel. It's a totally different town. There's a totally different energy. There's an optimism that didn't exist before. So when we say sell the plan, when Mark says bring in the community, it's not we all agree on the 7-page piece of paper. It's we have a vision. We're signed on. We see it. We're going. We believe in it. We can do it. We're excited. This is going to be great. And it should be. Because we showed in the most difficult circumstance that you can do this. If you can do it in Buffalo, you can do it anywhere. We're going to change the Frank Sinatra song a little bit. If you can turn around Buffalo, by the way, in 4 years, well, they got $1 billion. You want to know a secret? They didn't spend $1 billion. They haven't spent half of the $1 billion. It wasn't $1 billion. The $1 billion stimulated, generated a process, and it was that process of coming together and coming up with the vision and coming up with the goal and buying in and changing the energy and going forward. The $1 billion was just the trinket that attracted and generated and stimulated the process. That's what's working. Much harder than it sounds, but no doubt, if it worked in Buffalo, it's going to work. And now, my friends, it is up to you. Buffalo showed that it's possible. By the way, Albany Capital District showed the same thing. Albany Capital District, over the past 10 years, has done a 180-degree shift. It's the nanotechnology capital of the world. What is nanotechnology? I still don't know. I have been there 10 times. I put on the white gown, I put on the little mask, I walk through the... But they're making it, they're building it, it's a $1 billion industry. Companies are coming from all around the globe to Albany because it's the nanotech capital. Buffalo, on the old steel plant of yesterday, the monument of yesterday, the grave site of yesterday, the largest solar manufacturer in the country, to Buffalo, New York. Solar in Buffalo, nanotech in Albany. So Utica can be whatever Utica wants to be, and the Finger Lakes can be whatever the Finger Lakes wants to be, and Central New York can be whatever Central New York wants to be. It is up to you. And the excuses are gone. Well, the state government is taxes. Taxes are going in the right way. Well, I can't find investment capital. $500 million. You can do it with $500 million. 4 years later, as I said, Buffalo still hasn't spent $500 million. So all the opportunity you need is there. It is up to you. Why the competition? Because I believe in competition. I believe in it. Just give us the money. No. If I just gave you the money, you wouldn't do all the hard things you have to do to actually get the money. And the competition amongst yourselves, I'm telling you, brings up the performance of everybody. And it has. We've been doing this REDC competition for 4 years. The overall performance has gone straight up. It is a much more sophisticated operation than it was, one learning from the other. So it's going to be a competition, 3 $500 million winners, through the REDC process, submitted through the REDC process, at the same time that the REDCs are competing for the CFA grants, so you don't have to do double work, and we'll award the 3 $500 million grants and the CFA grants at the same time. What's the last piece? Change starts with the person in the mirror. Change starts with you. Learn from Buffalo, learn from Albany, build on the work you've already done with the REDCs, and let's really change upstate New York so when we look back, it's not just a couple of pockets of reform and growth. We're going to bring upstate New York back to the economic engine that it was. And it's up to you. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you, Governor, for those very inspiring words. Much appreciated your support for Upstate. We have some time for a few questions. Majority Leader Morelli.
Yes, good morning. First of all, I'd like to welcome and thank the Governor for your energy, for your vision, and certainly your leadership. It is a breath of fresh air, and we are delighted. I speak, I'm sure, for all of my colleagues in government who are here for your vision and help in regenerating upstate New York. So thank you very much, and I want to welcome all my other colleagues in government who have some cases traveled the distance, and certainly to you, Howard, congratulations, and thank you for your willingness to serve along with us in state government. My question, actually, I wanted to direct it to my friend Byron Brown, who I served with in the state legislature, has done a great job as mayor of the city of Buffalo, but since you're here and came all the way, I'd love to get your advice for us as we begin this process on a strategy that leverages a region's unique assets to spur economic growth. You've gone through it. Perhaps you could give us some insight into how that happened in Buffalo.
Well, good to be with you, Mr. Majority Leader. The first thing I would say is, as Governor Cuomo said, don't try to spend the money all at one time. I think it's important for the leadership of the region to get together, to bring in the experts, and to refine your plan. And all of the regions across the state, through the regional economic development councils, have established plans for your own communities, which have to be refined. And in the refinement of those plans, you have to work together. You have to work together cooperatively, and you have to bring in the community. The community has to buy into the plans that you have collectively brought together so that there's a sense of confidence in the community that this can happen, that this will happen, and that it will make a difference. In Buffalo, as you heard, we brought in Brookings and Bruce Katz. We brought in McKinsey, and we really looked at those sectors that are growing in our community and the things that would enable those sectors to grow at an accelerated rate. I think that's what has to be done to strategically be able to capitalize on $500 million, or in the case of Buffalo and the Western region, $1 billion. I would also just like to touch base on the governor questioning Mr. Morrow on the Dolly Parton quote on economic development. I think I have to do some more research on Dolly Parton's role in economic development as well. But that's my answer, Majority Leader Morelli.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor Cuomo, for your leadership in this area. I think that it's a wonderful presentation, and I want you to know that the Southern Tier region is up for the challenge of attempting to spend $500 million, so certainly thank you for that. My question is actually for the Lieutenant Governor. As the Buffalo Billion was about getting people to believe in Buffalo again, and as someone who lives in Western New York and has seen the new energy and activity that resulted from that initiative, do you have any suggestions for the Southern Tier or for Binghamton or other communities that may be looking to participate on how this competition can influence attitudes about upstate overall?
I can't see it from where I am, Mayor, so I'll come over here. Great question, and I just first want to add, Governor, I never drove a cab, but I used to be a waitress. And I want to tell you, as a former waitress, things are going great in Western New York, so thank you for your belief in us. And I want to say I was also noted that Thurman Thomas had a profound comment this morning in anticipating our new coach coming to town. He said, the team needs someone they can believe in. And our community did not have someone they could believe in for a long time. We heard it all. I was born and raised in the shadow of the Bethlehem Steel Plant. I knew what it was like when the 20,000 jobs left in one fell swoop, and our economy had been declining, and that just sent it in a downhill spiral, and we never recovered. But when the governor came to town, and I was in the room with Howard Zamsky when we heard about the billion, I almost fell off my chair. I could not believe that there was going to be that kind of attention for the first time spent in our region. And we weren't sure how it was going to develop, but we tried to put aside our cynicism and say, here's someone who believes in us. And as a team, like the Buffalo Bills, when someone believes in you, you can rise to new heights. And so I also believe that the community being involved so early on, and that's something I'd recommend for the different regions, make sure your key centers of influence and significant individuals participate at the table in defining that vision. It's going to help them feel even part of it, more pride, more momentum when it finally does occur. And it's not just the cranes in Buffalo and the physical manifestation of the change. There's been a tremendous psychological uplift, and that is real. I can feel it everywhere I go, the restaurants downtown, people ice skating, and even having a signature initiative, someplace the community can gather and share these good feelings. And in Buffalo, yes, we're one of the coldest places on the planet, but we have one of the largest outdoor skating rinks now in the country. And that's a way you turn a negative into positive, and people are now down there embracing what was once a negative. So we have seen it happen in Buffalo. Never in my lifetime that I think was possible. That's why I know it can occur all across upstate. We need to get the leaders, all of the people in this room, to believe as well. This money is going to be game-changing, and this is a dramatic investment of someone who believes in entire upstate from the governor, and I'm really excited about working closely with you, and I'm going to be sort of an apostle, if you will, from Buffalo to be able to go to all the other regions and say, I never thought it could happen there, and it did, and we're here to help. Thank you.
Thank you.
County Executive Pacini.
Thank you, Howard, and congratulations to you in your new role. We look forward to working with you. Governor, thank you again for just your leadership and for another inspiring way to move this state forward, and we continue to work with you in doing so. My question is to Mark Murrow. Mark, given that Buffalo has some unique advantages in terms of population base, in terms of the proximity to Ontario and medical facilities, et cetera, what is your advice and direction or guidance to other areas that may not have that population number, the proximity to different locales such as in Western New York, but are in the center of the state and have other challenges that we have to meet.
Yeah, first thing, don't try to be Buffalo. Second thing, don't try to be Wichita, don't try to be New York City, don't try to be, Austin, Texas, right? These metropolitan areas need to be themselves more on purpose, as I was trying to say earlier. So it's about assessing what a community has, what are its strengths, what's its emerging industries. In this region, it's probably something around photonics with, combinations with informatics. I haven't really drilled down, but go through a process. Think, examine the best information, talk to your executives, really understand the economy and where it's going. It's going to be a unique solution in each place, and I would wager that awards are going to go to places that make a compelling, unique case for a business case for their series of initiatives. So cast a wide net. Also, talk to your smartest people. Talk to your best business leaders. Include the whole community, and cast a wide net for the best insights and information. You have hints in Buffalo. I would say Buffalo, when I said it was an example or a methodology, it gives you a direction or a process approach, but it's not the solution itself. You'll work that out yourself in each place, and every place has a unique opportunity.
Tony.
Yeah, thanks, Howard. First of all, I'd like to thank the governor. The North Country loves to compete, and we're going to compete hard for this. But I can assure you that when we win our $500 million, we're going to spend every last cent of it. But my question back to you, Howard. Gary and I are heading back, and we'll probably call a council meeting when we get back this afternoon. Now, the REDC process has been demanding. And now we're going to have this wonderful Upstate Revitalization program. So any advice on how we can balance those efforts in the next 6 to 8 months?
Yeah. Well, let me say, I've been walking in your shoes. It's a tremendous responsibility and commitment of time, and I have an enormous amount of respect for the regions, the efforts of the co-chairs and all the members. But there's no easy answer, and there's no sweet way to say it's just going to take some more work. It is a galvanizing moment, though, and I know after many years of REDC, it's an opportunity to reignite the fire. We did depend on and expanded the group of experts, subject matter experts in the community. You're going to have Rich. Tons of experience. He'll be working with you and spending a lot of time with, how our model worked. The key ultimately is to have a really collaborative, you've heard that many times, engaged locally, expand the net, widen the net, get involved with more, more constituents in the community, businesses, community development organizations, things of that nature. One of the things that has been so valuable is that we no longer waste our time arguing with each other about what to do. The community in our region speaks with one voice, whether it's the county executive or the mayor, the Regional Economic Development Council, the chambers of commerce. So there's a tremendous value, and I'm not intimately familiar with all the regions, but there's a tremendous value in that cohesion and the collaboration, getting as much buy-in as possible on the front end, so you spend all of your energy on implementation and less of your energy on confrontation. It can't work any other way at the end of the day.
Yeah, thanks. That's I think we're well positioned. That's
Yep.
a great answer from our perspective. Thank you.
Okay, great.
Can I add a point on
Sure.
that? Tony, it is a good question, and I think Howard answered it very well. We started 4 years ago, and I see this as an opportunity to re-energize the process. And I thought Mark's answer to the previous question was very telling. Your answer is not what happened in Buffalo. By definition, it's not what happened in Buffalo. because the question that this competition poses is the question that you're living with. What are you selling that the other regions aren't selling, right? How do you get people to the North Country instead of Western New York or Vermont or New Hampshire or Maine? That is your competition. That is your question. What are we selling? What can we sell? What business are we in that we can survive and thrive in? That was the question 4 years ago. It then got into an implementation of achieving that grand vision. But I think this is a refocusing, galvanizing of what is your grand vision for your long-term strategic business plan that's going to make your region a winner. That is attracting people and attracting businesses, and what are you selling better or cheaper than anybody else? And that is the question for all of us at the end of the day, right? These are all commercial enterprises. Government, in many ways, is a commercial enterprise. And that's your region versus every other region versus the other states in our region, sometimes versus nationally. But to the extent we've gotten more into the CFA process and these incremental grants, I think it's good to pull us back up to 4 years later. What's the big vision here, guys? What is our cluster economy, right? Buffalo says we're going to put tourism together with medical corridor, together with this. Fine. What are our 3 or 4 key industries that we can win from a commercial point of view and get people back up there?
President Robert Jones.
Thank you very much. Governor, on behalf of all of my colleagues from the Capital Region Economic Development Council, I'd like to thank you for another very, very innovative idea that will continue to drive the economic vitality of the whole state. Howard, I guess my question is to you. It's very clear to me that such a bold and innovative idea will require a very effective assessment tool. In other words, how will we know that this significant investment is giving us the kind of return that we expect? You know, is it working? So I guess my main question is, how will the Strategic Review Committee measure success? Will it be based on the level or the number of new jobs committed, or the level of outside investment that we're able to attract to these 3 winning regions, or the number of new firms that are being recruited?
And the answer is yes. So the
turned into a politician already.
You know, that's a great question. You know, one of the things I think that you know, Mark has talked about for Brookings and that we have followed in the Western New York model is a holistic approach to economic development. So of course we value we place a very high value on private sector investment, leveraging the tax dollars, the public dollars with private capital. You know, the governor kicked off REDC with, and the Buffalo Billionaire with 3 words: jobs, jobs, and jobs. I'll never forget that. So, of course, inducing private sector investment, jobs, firms, capital, CapEx are all part of the puzzle. For us, we not only were interested in attracting that, but we're interested in redressing some of our weaknesses. So we had weaknesses around workforce. A lot of regions have had workforce systems that aren't really working for the people. There's a lot of disparity of income. There's a lot of embedded poverty in a lot of the policies that a lot of the regions have followed, and certainly our region has followed. We kept sprawling all over the place. We made it very difficult for people to get to work. We didn't put jobs where they were accessible. I think you can't really do economic development in an equitable way without taking that into consideration and without having that as one of your objectives. it's like a region, I don't know how all of your regions are. Our region had such low self-esteem in some ways. We were just grateful for anybody who would invest anything, no matter what and no matter where. And I think we should all have a better sense of ourselves and the opportunity that we have and the amazing state that this is. And we should demand more and expect more and have a policies. We don't support those projects that are all sprawly anymore. I mean, you can still do it. It's your dollar. It's just that you can't, in our region, you can't get the government to help you do it. Because we have objectives around vitality, creating places for young people. We need that. You know, a lot of upstate has lost young people. And it used to be when we started talking about this, folks would say, how is downtown revitalization economic development? It's not a firm, because you're creating a place that people want to be, they want to move to. Not everyone who moves to New York City or moves to Seattle or Oregon or Austin even has a job. It's where they want to live, it's a cool place, it's got what they want, they'll figure it out. We have got to embrace the notion that we're creating great and cool places, truthfully, that are attractive to young people. That is part of economic development. It's not a strange cousin of economic development, and I think we should think about that. And we kept duplicating resources everywhere, infrastructure, services. It made no sense. Our region declined in population. It was ridiculous. So all of those things, entrepreneurship, innovation, smart growth, industry, investment, jobs. It's a holistic, I think, view of economic development. And I think that's the way we've been thinking about it.
Thank you.
County Executive Mahoney.
Thank you. And Governor Cuomo, thank you very much. We've learned a lot here today, and Howard, thank you. What I'm taking away from this is that it's not just theoretical. You've given us a really good example. There's been a lot of debate about economic development and what constitutes economic development, but when you give us a concrete example like you have from Buffalo and it's worked, it really settles all of that, and we can focus now on this template that you've left for us. And my question really is for my counterpart out in Buffalo, Mark Polenkar, as the county executive. How did your community coalesce around your strengths and narrow it to a couple, 2, 3, 4, that you could build on all together?
Thank you for the question. Before I answer that, I do want to commend the governor on his choice of my deputy county executive. Still my deputy county executive. He hasn't handed his resignation in yet, but I know it's forthcoming. Of Richard Tobey, and of course the choice of Howard Zamsky for Empire State Development. Having worked alongside Rich for the last few years, if you've not met him, get ready. I do not know of an individual who truthfully understands economic development issues in New York State as well as he does, and there was not a better pick for that position. So congratulations, Governor, for stealing him. You left a hole in my administration, but we'll deal with it. To your question, County Executive, you're going to have to learn to say no. One of the things that we learned early on were people who were used to dealing with the old way, where where's my piece of the action, and the decisions have to be made in the policy makers, which are both from the public and the private sector, are going to have to tell some people, no. This is the direction we're going as a community. This is not a bag of cash in which everyone's going to get a little piece of the action. We have to identify what are the key areas for our community. And it wasn't an easy thing to do, because what I was hearing from individuals in the suburbs and in the rural areas, and we do have a substantial rural area in an agricultural community in Erie County, is, well, why is it only focused on Buffalo? And the argument was, well, as goes the city of Buffalo, so goes the suburbs, so goes the rural area, so goes all of Western New York. And I think Mayor Deister might agree, if the city of Buffalo is thriving, it helps Niagara Falls. And what we did is we took the advantages that we had in place. We weren't looking for silver bullets, as Howard noted. We were looking for projects and development that really made a difference. So we started with the health campus, because that was an area that was growing and we knew would grow further. Advanced manufacturing is a key component of our community for many years, and even though we don't have the Bethlehem steels and the Republic steels like we once did, we still have a vibrant advanced manufacturing area, so we were able to piggyback on that. And as a result, we took advantage of the core economic sectors we already had and took them to a different level, which means there are some sectors you might have to ignore. We didn't focus on agriculture for Erie County in the Buffalo Billion, though agricultural has a key role. But what the Buffalo Billion was able to do, which the $500 million will be able to do for many of these communities, is you're able to focus it in certain areas which allow other areas of government to focus on the areas that maybe the $500 million's not. So when the Buffalo Billion was focusing needed dollars in the urban core and in the areas that were based in the urban core, it allowed the county to take additional funds that maybe we would have put towards the urban core and now invest them in other areas, such as creating a farmland protection plan, as well as our plans for a food hub to assist the agricultural community. That may not have been something that would have spurred thousands of brand new jobs in Buffalo and Western New York, but it strengthens the agricultural community that we have, and we would not have been able to do that if we had to solely focus all of our need on the urban core. And I think that's one thing we looked at is, so goes the city of Buffalo, as goes the city of Buffalo, so goes the suburbs, so go the rural areas, so goes Western New York, and you have to think that, which means in some situations, there are people who are going to come to you, there are businesses are going to come to you, say, invest in our company, and your answer is, in all likelihood, going to have to be no, because it doesn't really fit what's in the best interest for the region. But if the region thrives as a result of these other investments, your companies in the end will thrive, and that's what we're seeing, are maybe the companies that we did not invest in, the communities we did not invest in, such as the suburbs, are starting to thrive on their own, because as the city goes, there's more investment, there's more economic activity, which then spreads out.
Great, thank you. Those are great questions, thank you. We're winding down. Just, Governor's given me the opportunity to just say a couple more things real quick. To my colleagues in Western New York, I want all of them that are here, Mayor, County Executive, Mayor, Satish, Rich, my friend Lieutenant Governor Hochul. For me, as I transition out of Western New York REDC, it's been a remarkable experience. The ESD staff, Sam and Christina and the whole team at ESD, Laura, Bob Shibley, the team at the UB Regional Institute. It has been an amazing, remarkable experience. Like all of you around this table, one day I got a phone call quite unexpectedly about REDC. The next thing, we were at a meeting, we were sitting next to the governor, we were kicking off competitions. Then there was the Buffalo Billion, now there's the Upstate Billion. And he's great, he doesn't let us rest, but he's a tireless champion for Upstate, and we had no champion for Upstate for what feels like forever. So I want to thank the Western New Yorkers for sure who've come out, who I've had the privilege of working with. I want to thank Danny Wegman for your hospitality, much appreciated. Great work with you. I want to let everyone know and remind Joel that I'm a graduate of the University of Rochester. I'm proud. I learned more in those 2 years, Joel, than in anything really I think I've ever done. It's an amazing program, and you have an amazing school. And finally, of course, the governor. Thank you. We've been neglected upstate for too long. You changed all that. It's an amazing honor and privilege working with you, and thank you again for your inspirational remarks and commitment. Thank you.
Welcome.